Inspector Gadget, the animated TV series, debuted in 1983. It's centered around the misadventures of a cyborg police inspector, Gadget, a determined detective, but ultimately clueless, finding himself getting into and out of dangerous situations entirely by luck, often without ever realizing it. In addition to his extremely good luck, the oblivious inspector also has the assistance of his niece Penny, a computer whiz genius, and their dog Brain, a master of disguise. They work from the shadows to help Gadget complete his missions and stop the evil Dr. Claw. The show became quite popular and has since spawned several spin-offs, movies, and of course, video games. The game I'll be looking at today is Inspector Gadget Operation Madkactus for the Game Boy Color. Released in 2001, it was published by Ubisoft and developed by RFX Interactive, who, at the time of this game's release, had only one other game under their belt, but did go on to make a few more. Operation Madkactus is a side-scrolling action platformer. The plot is simple. People all over the world have been disappearing after buying cacti from the Happy Cactus Company. Turns out, cannibal cacti is the culprit, and of course, it's the work of Dr. Claw. Gadget and co. must fight their way through various locations, strategically placing chewing gum bombs to take out Dr. Claw's organization. There are 5 worlds, each with 3 stages, with a boss at the end of each third stage. You can switch between characters on the fly by bringing up the select menu. You can only do this while standing on flat ground. Each character controls independently and has their own strengths and weaknesses. Gadget has the most health and the strongest attack. Penny can swim underwater and hack into computers through simple mini-games. Brain can double jump and crawl into tight spaces. Both Brain and Penny have very little health, usually going from a full bar to dead in 2 hits. They also have an extremely weak attack, so it's best to use them only for their utility and leave the enemies to Gadget. Each character has their own health bar, but share the lives counter. You'll find many different pickups scattered throughout each level. There are muffins that fully restore health, extra lives, gadget points if you're into completion, and weapons that the inspector can use to help him out. You can find rubber arrows for ranged attacks, a net which is also ranged but does a lot of damage, taking out most enemies with only one shot, the helicopter which will allow Gadget to fly by holding up while jumping, and the rare photo flash which will take out all enemies on screen. Each item has limited uses, except for the default hammer. You can refill each item's uses by collecting their corresponding pickup, and you can switch between weapons using the same screen, you swap characters. There are many side areas to find throughout levels, pointed out by claw symbols. These areas are mostly optional and will reward you with an extra life or other pickup, but are sometimes required to progress. Some levels have switches, or glowing rocks that you need to activate by jumping on or punching them respectively. Switches can help you navigate the levels by creating ladders or platforms, or opening areas that were previously inaccessible. Most of the time, you'll need to switch characters at least a few times to complete a level. More so if you want to find every secret. This is never really a problem though, as swapping characters is quick and easy. Levels aren't too long, and they encourage and reward exploration, making you really want to look for everything. Level design is also really well done. Everything flows nicely and the stages are open enough to where you'll feel like you're not stuck on a set path, but also linear enough to where you won't be wandering around lost, looking for the exit. Platforming is a little easy, but very fun. The controls are quick and responsive. I did feel that Brain was a little slippery. He is supposed to be the agile character, so I'm guessing that was intentional. It's never really a problem though. Enemy hitboxes may be just a tad too big, but again it's not much of a problem. You'll quickly learn to stay a few pixels further away from enemies than you normally would. All of these elements make for some very smooth and fun gameplay. Again, a bit on the easy side, but when you mess up, you know it's your fault and not the fault of poor programming. The graphics here are pretty good too. All the characters are represented accurately and have good animations, and there's a fair amount of detail in the level art. I also like how each character has idle animations, a nice little touch. The game also offers a few pixel art images, some with a bit of animation, and they all remain true to how they appear on the show. As for the music, while it's nothing amazing, it isn't terrible and it fits the game well. Songs are reused in a few places, but never to the point where they get annoying. There's not much by way of sound effects though. There are a couple pseudo-auto-scroller levels where you're being chased by something and you have to keep moving. These were my least favorite levels. It was a huge letdown that the final boss was one of these types of levels. All you have to do is jump to the left a few times, and you've won. Also, what's up with this boss? I guess it's not suggestive if you're not immature, but I find it highly suggestive. And not once did I hear the iconic Inspector Gadget theme song. I know it was most likely a licensing issue, but come on, how can you have an Inspector Gadget game and not include the theme song? But, save for a few minor issues, this is a pretty solid game. Nothing spectacular, but still a slightly above average platformer for the Game Boy Color. So why was this game largely overlooked? Well, I can't say for sure. Perhaps it was the waning popularity of the series, as the game was released in 2001, yet Inspector Gadget was only syndicated into the late 1990s. Licensed titles such as these also had a reputation for being poor quality. The GBA was also released just 3 months after this game, which may have played a small role, but I think the main problem here is that nothing about the game really stands out. It's a textbook version of how to make a platformer game, but doesn't offer much more than that. Nothing about it is new or exciting, and while it's a fun playthrough, there's practically no incentive to replay the game. Overall, I do recommend this game if you want to play something new. You'll definitely get at least a couple hours of enjoyment out of it. You can find a cart pretty cheap online. I wouldn't recommend going too far out of your way to get one, but it's still a nice addition to any collection. That's it for this Boss Raid review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on Boss Raid.